Hi, I'm Daniel from Previous Next, author of Scheduled Transitions, giving you an introduction to scheduled transitions for Drupal 8. Scheduled Transitions is a module allowing you to schedule a specific, previously created revision to move from one state to another. For example, a user may modify a piece of content remaining in draft throughout the edit process. When ready, an editor may schedule a finished draft to be moved from draft to published. Typically, the project requires the latest version of each dependency. At this time, the only external dependency is Dynamic Entity Reference. Everything else comes with core. Some things about the architecture of scheduled transitions. Scheduled transitions work with any revisable content entity type. At this time, scheduled transitions is only compatible with content moderation workflows. Scheduled transitions are tracked by individual translation. For example, you can schedule English or German language revisions independently. Scheduling metadata is stored outside of the schedule entity. This means you don't need to create or modify existing revisions in order to schedule something. Execution can be handled with built-in cron or with dedicated console commands. Installation is straightforward. Simply download and install the module using your favorite method. Enabling the module automatically enables content moderation, workflows, and dynamic entity reference if they're not already enabled. Configuration is quick and easy. There are three main steps: configuration of content moderation workflows, configuration of scheduled transitions, and assignment of user permissions. Firstly, create and configure a content moderation workflow. Navigate to Configuration, Workflows, and then click Add Workflow. Set up states and the transitions between them. Also, configure which entity type bundles the workflow should apply to. Next step is to configure scheduled transitions. Navigate to Configuration from the menu, then select the bundles you want to enable scheduled transitions on. Other settings on this form already have sensible defaults. Leave them and save the form. Last step is to enable permissions. Navigate to People and then Permissions. Under Content Moderation heading, permit users to execute appropriate transitions. Without these permissions, users may not be able to view or create new scheduled transitions. Scroll down to Scheduled Transitions heading. You'll need to give permission for both viewing lists of scheduled transitions and adding new scheduled transitions. The permissions are per entity type bundle, so return here to enable new permissions if you enable workflows and scheduled transitions on more entity type bundles. There is an extra permission here to permit users to see a master list of all currently scheduled transitions on the site. Users will also need to be able to edit the entity, so enable any permissions they need. Moving on to day-to-day functionality of scheduled transitions. I'm going to create a new node. Keep in mind, though I'm demoing nodes, scheduled transitions work with any revisionable entity type. I'm creating a node in needs review state here and going straight to save. Here I'm sent to the view page for the node I just created. I can now select the Scheduled Transitions tab. You'll notice a number in the tab. This is the up-to-date count of how many scheduled transitions are pending for this node. Clicking this tab will send me to a list of scheduled transitions for this node. Click the Add Scheduled Transition button. A modal pop-up will display showing a list of all revisions for this node. If translations are enabled, only revisions that apply to this translation will be visible. Click the radio button adjacent to a revision I want to transition to a new state in the future. In this case, this is the Needs Review revision I just created. A drop-down will appear showing which transitions I can use. Transitions will vary depending on the state of the revision I chose. Content moderation permissions are enforced here, so I, the current user, can only transition if I have permission. Fill in the date and time for when the transition should execute. Depending on which source revision I selected, an additional checkbox may display, prompting me to recreate pending revisions. This feature is useful if, for example, users have created more draft revisions after my draft. Where my draft would be published, a new revision representing the draft after mine would be created after my new published revision. This is so no intermediate draft work is not lost. The checkbox should be left checked if you're not sure what to do. Now click the Schedule button. The modal pop-up will automatically close and the transition list in the background will reload. A message appears at the top of the page confirming creation of the transition. The list here displays scheduled transitions for this node, including information such as the from and to state, the point in time the transition will execute, who created the scheduled transition, and if the user has permission, an option to delete, and a link to view the revision itself. To demonstrate the scheduled transition, I'll run cron from the UI, which will execute pending transitions. Normally cron should be set up to run automatically and regularly, preferably every 5 minutes or so. You'll notice that after the job executes successfully, the transition will delete itself, which removes a row from the transition list. You can check in on which transitions were executed by navigating to the revision list that comes with Drupal. A log message outlines the state change. When I go to the edit form for this node, it shows that it has successfully transitioned to a published state. If you granted the permission, users will have the option to see all scheduled transitions for all entities. In the menu, navigate to Content, then Scheduled Transitions. This shows all pending scheduled transitions on the site. The information available here is similar to that displayed on individual entity scheduled transition lists, but with extra link to the relevant entity. This list is also a regular view, so you can customize it if desired. On to setting up cron. Cron should be set up to run approximately every 5 minutes. You can set up Drupal's internal cron by enabling the automated cron module. However, this method requires active users on the site to trigger. Instead, a server-level cron task should be set up, which you can either instruct to execute Drupal's secret cron path or run a specific set of drush commands that execute scheduled transitions code only. The commands are outlined in the project README file. That's everything you need to know about scheduled transitions for Drupal 8. Feedback can be sent to the project issue queue.